Hello, DC Everest Evergreens. It's so good to see you. All right, I am open to page 30 in my book, Castle Diaries, a Journal of Tobias Burgess, and we are going to continue reading from where we left off yesterday. So remember, we have Tobias. He is our main character, and he is taking the wonderful journey of becoming a page and a squire at his uncle's castle. So last time we read together, he made his way to the castle. He was kind of getting comfortable with it and learning all about the different roles that people have in the castle, and he got to experience his first hunt, and we learned about some of the different jobs that people have in castles, and that was what was going on in his daily life. So we are going to keep reading. We might meet some new characters here or some new activities that Tobias does. But let's follow along as we read. Here we go. February 5th, Monday. Chaplain sickened this forenoon and took to his bed, so we were free to do as we pleased. So remember, the chaplain is the teacher. Teacher must have gotten sick, so the kids have free time. To help me forget my misery over the hunt, and because he was sick of hearing me tell it, Mark offered to teach me Longshanks, this being his name for stilts. So if you look at the cover even, Tobias is on Longshanks or stilts. It's what, you can go on it. It's a game and it makes you taller. It's kind of tough to walk on if anyone's ever tried to walk on stilts. He led me to the old sally port in the west wall. This small door was once a back way out of the castle, but is scarce used today. We went to the little wood that grows beyond the wall, and there Mark showed me how to cut a forked chestnut branch, with one side long to hold on to, and the other side short to stand on. I soon discovered that my stilts were far more easily made than used, though, and have bruises aplenty to show for it. So it's kind of tough to walk on stilts. February 6th, Tuesday. Back at schooling this day, sitting in the cold keep fair freezed me to the bone. So when lessons were ended, I slipped into the kitchen. While thawing in its warmth, I watched a kitchen lad making pie shells, which he did call coffins. Not many minutes had passed before the cook espied me heating myself by the bread oven. He asked my business there, and when he learned that I had no task, said, "There is no room in my kitchen for useless bodies," and set me to copying from a pile of recipes that he had. Remember, they don't have copy machines, so Tobias had to handwrite and copy it all that way. They were much splattered, and a few even smelled of the dishes they described. Some were most strange, especially a salad made with cock's combs and hen's feet. Oh, like a bird stuff. For writing on, cook gave me some old scraps of parchment or paper. Many had to be scraped clean before I could use them again. February 13th, Tuesday. Before lessons, I went again to warm myself in the kitchen and watched while cook made bread. He and his helpers start work before dawn, and the kitchen was a busy, bustling place. Cook mixes water and flour with barm. This last stuff he gets from the breweress in the village, who calls it yeast. Her work is to make ale for the castle, and as it brews, she scoops off the barm that floats to the top as foam. This barm forms bubbles that swell the dough, making the bread light. Cook kneads the dough in a trough made out of the hollowed out half of a tree trunk, then shapes it into loaves and leaves it to rise. February 14th, Wednesday. Cook showed me today how they bake bread. A kitchen lad lights the oven early on baking days so that it is hot when the loaves are ready for baking. He begins by burning bundles of sticks and then throws in a log or two. As soon as the oven glows overall, he scoops out the embers, brushes out most of the gray ash, then wipes the oven floor with a wet mop. The oven hisses mightily, and steam issues from its mouth like the breath of a dragon. So there's not actually a dragon there, but the steam comes out because it's that water evaporating. Cook then sets the loaves into the hot oven with a wooden shovel he calls a peel. They bake here 3 kinds of bread. Cook made me miniature loaves of each sort, and all the kitchen staff rested at their work to watch me taste them. The best, called manchet, is made from the sifted wheaten flour and is the white bread we eat in the hall. So there's 3 types of bread, manchet. The second, brown cheat bread, I knew also, for I have seen some of the servants eat it. The last, which I did not know they called Brome bread. It was horrible, and I spat it out, which caused great mirth or ha laughter among those who watched. I learned later that only dogs and horses eat such bread. It is baked to use up the bran the miller sieves out from the wheat when he makes white flour. At such ill use, I ran out of the kitchen and vowed not to go back there, even if the ice freezes all of my fingers off. So the kitchen staff played a prank. They gave him the icky dog, like a dog biscuit, essentially. Poor Tobias. February 21st, Wednesday. Tomorrow I am to spend the day at the butts, which is what they call the archery targets here. I wonder if there's a picture of the butts. Nope. Okay, so the archery targets. Here we are. Page 35. And must do so in the company of the constable. Part of his work as warden of the castle is to train the castle guards and ensure that they are constantly ready to ward off an attack. To this end, he and his men practice their fighting skills as often as the weather and their other duties will allow. To him also is given the task of instructing us pages in the basic points of archery. Archery is with the bow and arrow. Though clearly he does not relish such a chore. He doesn't like teaching them archery. For when my uncle asked him to watch over me at the butts, he protested loudly. He said that I was old enough to look after myself, which is true. But my uncle silenced him, saying, "Hush, man, 'tis just for one day. Once he has the hang of it, he can practice without your help. But this is my brother's only son. What says he if the lad be spiked with an arrow on his first day at yonder butts?" February 22nd, Thursday. This morning, the constable and I ventured out together to the butts beyond the north wall, each of us pretending that we were alone. At home, I have a bow, which father fashioned for me, but when I saw what they call here a boy's bow, I knew mine was but a toy. My new bow is made of yew wood and is as tall as me. Straight as an iron rod, it is almost as stiff. To bend it and fit the string takes all of my strength. My arrows are the perfect twin of those the castle guards use, but done in miniature. So he's got a bow and arrow, but they're exactly like what the guards use, just a little bit smaller. They have real goose feather flights, which are supposed to make them fly straight at the target. Oftener, though, my arrows fly elsewhere when I let go the bowstring, so he's not great at shooting a bow and arrow. I had thought that my practice with arrows in the orchard at home last summer might be some help to me with this new endeavor, but I am by far the poorest archer at the castle. March 3rd, Saturday. Have been neglectful of my journal of late, for studies and other tasks fill the daylight hours when it is light enough to write. I made this entry in school while I did pretend to be studying my numbers. At the butts yesterday, one of the archers showed me why his kind are so feared by our king's foes, or king's enemies. With bow in hand, he stood before a tree with a trunk thicker than my chest. He pulled back the bowstring until the veins stood out upon his face, and when he loosened the arrow, its head passed clean through the tree trunk and pierced the other side. Seeing this, the other archers jeered that he was showing off, and 4 more of them repeated this trick. But then, when he let fly 13 arrows in a minute, none took up his challenge to better him. So they're so strong and they're so good at archery and shooting bow and arrows, he can shoot it straight into a tree and it will go right through a tree. March 9th, Friday. Practice archery again today. This time I was much better and pulled the string right back. But when the constable saw this, he gave me a bigger bow. So once again, I am the castle dizzard at the butts. Of 12 arrows I shot with my new bow. Only 4 hit the target, while 7 fell on the grass. 1 killed a sparrow in flight. Ugh, those watching cried, hail, and clapped. So I bowed to let them, bowed low to them and said, not that 'twas but a fluke. So he shot a bird on accident, but everyone thought he did it on purpose. And so they're like, good job, good job. And he was like, yeah, I meant to do that. Not really, but yeah. March 11th, the Lord's Day. With much ceremony, a special dish was placed before me at dinner today. Baked on a skewer was the bird that I had shot. So the bird he accidentally shot from the sky is being cooked up for dinner. Yay! Cook, who's just what this was, called it sparrow a la arrow. Poor guy. And though there was scarce a mouthful of meat on the bird, it tasted well. So a little sparrow, can't, like a snack. It was an appetizer. March 12th, Monday. This morning, I overheard my uncle say he was to visit the castle armory to see about some small changes to his helm. He wishes it to weigh less heavy on his head, yet better protect him at the jousts. So like his helmet, at his helmet, he wanted to make some changes to his helmet. Of this tournament, I knew nothing, and I begged his leave to accompany him. In my excitement, I quite forgot myself and began to say, Uncle, tell me more about... For I desired most keenly to learn of those jousts. But then I remembered my manners, and blushing, began anew. My lord, if it pleases you, pray tell me more about the tournament. This made him laugh, and he spoke freely about it, saying that the jousts are to be held as usual on St. George's feast day. So I must wait 6 weeks. Oy. Within the armory, they make and mend all manner of weapons, as well as armor. But the noise of hammering and the heat from the furnace in which they soften the metal were so great that they made my head whirl. 'Tis certain the sound has made the armor and the smith and their apprentices as deaf as beetles. For to make himself heard, my uncle had to bellow like a braying donkey. Okay, so they're in the armory, and what they're saying is it's so loud in there that the armor and the smith, the metalsmith, have gone deaf because it's so loud in there. March 16th, Friday. My cousin Beth hath sewed me a shirt of Egyptical cotton. I have never before had such dainty garb or had such fine clothing. I quickly put it on, but because it is new, the seams and stitches rubbed my skin sore. Humphrey and Oliver both laugh at this and called me crimser, and nigget, and moonling. They are accustomed to the new clothes and will suffer them until washing softens the folds. But I would rather wear my old linen shirt, for though it is more common, 'tis also more comfortable. So he got new clothes, and just like I'm sure you all are experiencing, no new clothes need to be broken in a little bit. Okay, so we're gonna stop there for today, my friends. Okay, so we learned a little bit more about the daily life of Tobias. He is not very good at archery or shooting a bow and arrow. He's getting some new clothes, and he's really excited to learn more about the joust that is coming up in 6 weeks. So have fun, have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.